Hey, Mystic Magic podcasters, we are in for a lovely show today because today my guest is Reverend Michele Synegal. Michele co-founded Management Dynamics in 1983. It's also known as MDI. It was based in Oakland, and she expanded the business to the East Coast, opening a second office in Miami, Florida, and then the third in Rockville, Maryland. Prior to joining MDI full-time, she held positions of increased responsibility. First as a territory training director of Fireman's Fund Insurance Company, national training director for Viacom Cable, and then president and executive director of the Walter Cates Foundation. She became the president of Management Dynamics, Inc. in 1994. In the early 1990s, after the Hudson Institute Workforce 2000 study was published, the focus of business shifted from leadership development to leading and managing a diverse workforce. She became an expert in the changing demographics of the American workforce and was cited in several publications projecting the implications of those data on every aspect of business: leadership, marketing, customer service, talent acquisition, and management. As a diversity and inclusion strategist, she has conducted cultural audits, designed training solutions, and advised diversity councils on the establishment of their diversity and inclusion framework. Ms. Synegal, Reverend Michele, holds a master's degree from the Holmes Institute and completed her undergraduate studies at the University of San Francisco, majoring in human relations and organizational behavior. She is a keynote speaker, published author, and sits on the Diversity Commission at Centers for Spiritual Living and International Movement. Michele is bivocational in that she is an ordained minister, where she most recently served as senior minister of a Center for Spiritual Living in Baltimore, Maryland for more than 10 years. She's the mother of two and currently resides in North Bethesda, Maryland. Welcome, Reverend Michele.
Thank you for having me.
Well, it's my pleasure. I want to make sure that special people get on Mystic Magic, and so you are one of them. Now, you started MDI in Oakland in 1983. That's like 29 years ago.
No,
And
longer than that. It's almost 40
Really?
years ago. It's 39 years ago. Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay.
90s,
Whoa.
2000s, 2013, and we're almost to 2023, so 39 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
What made you want to start a company, and why was one office not enough?
Well, it's about, being in charge of one's destiny and being able to, realize one's full potential. You can only do that when you work for yourself, because oftentimes there are barriers within organizations, and they limit your opportunities. There are ceilings that had to be broken through at that time. So it's just easier in a lot of ways to be the master again of your own destiny. So that's the main reason.
Great. Now, even at a primary level, your degree, why did you major in human relations and organizational behavior? Something must have
Well,
been
you
on
know,
your mind.
well, you know what? In all honesty, it took a while for me to get there. I changed my major many times. I had the early desire to be an on-air personality. So I studied communications and journalism. And after a couple of years into that, I was introduced to some electives, and I chose an elective in the human relations organizational behavior space, and I said, this is it. This is it. I had a strong desire to want to affect change, primarily for people of color, in all honesty, within organizations. I was in corporate America, and what better place than to begin to affect change than from the inside. And so I worked inside. Once I developed relationships and my confidence, then I was able to go outside, but then I could talk to folks from an external perspective, but I knew the inner workings of the industry. I knew, what systemic racism was all about and institutionalized all of the isms, what that was about, and how I could guide them past that so that they could realize their potential as organizations. So it all just came together, and it really was the fact that I was divinely guided.
Absolutely, of course.
Yeah.
Now, what was in this Workforce 2000 study that encouraged businesses to shift to focusing on managing a diverse workforce?
Well, the thing is it was the progressive, innovative companies that really focused in on the changing demographics. I mean, nowadays you have people getting on board, but we're talking almost 40 years ago. This study came out, and it was just shocking because what it projected is what is actually unfolding. The demographics of the workforce within this country were going to change dramatically. The browning, the blackening of the workforce, and so that actually, is in alignment with what's happening within the United States. The changing demographics. And so for businesses that were progressive, they recognized, whoa, we're probably going to have different customers, which means we're going to have to market differently. We may even have to service them differently. I was in the cable industry, and so they saw that as an opportunity, tremendous opportunity. Wow, niche markets, niche programming, more money, more money, more money. And so for the cable industry, that was a vested interest. That was a business case. And then, later on as the years passed by, then other people realized the importance of being able to manage the diversity that was unfolding within their populations, their employee populations.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, you are a mother, and wow, are you a grandmother yet?
I am pleased to say, and that was one of the magical moments in my life when I became a grandmother, because there's nothing better. It's just unconditional love. Yeah.
You are a special presenter at the upcoming groundbreaking event, Celebrating Our Soul, a New Thought Conference by People of African Descent. I know you were planning to attend before we asked you to present.
Yes.
Why was it important for you to be there?
It was really important for me to be there, to be amongst my own. And that was really fortuitous that it was planned at this time, because I actually have pulled back from my involvement with the organization that ordained me. And that's mainly because even though for 4 years I chaired the Diversity and Inclusion Commission, it was espoused that that was a value, but it was not demonstrated. And I actually felt it. I actually was subject to micro behaviors, exclusion, microaggressions. And because I'm the kind of person that I know, my value, and I have strong self-efficacy, I'm like, I don't need to be here and subject myself to this. So I am going to go and do what brings me joy. I am going to be where I feel that sense of belonging. And so just by virtue of the fact that this conference was coming up, it was a call to me. And it was answered prayer. You belong here. You have a place here. You've got to be there.
Yeah. I think we all feel that. Now, you are going to be presenting from your forte on diversity, calling forth courageous conversations.
Yes.
What would you like to accomplish by being a presenter at this wonderful event?
Well, because I think that, communication is so absolutely essential and critical to the foundation of meaningful and purposeful relationships. I believe that we have to get better at having courageous conversations. So I've got 4 goals, and one of the goals is to help people to display empathy with others so that they really try to understand root causes of behavior and issues, how people are showing up. So, maybe the need for the courageous conversation was someone was emotionally triggered. And the person who did the offending, if you will, may even be clueless about why this person is having this reaction. But they value the relationship. And because they value the relationship, if they have the courage, see, it takes courage to act. If they have the courage, then they will convene an opportunity to engage the other, to ask with empathy those questions that drill down to the root cause of the issue. One needs to approach it with humility. That means that, like I said, oftentimes we're unaware in the ways that we have offended or hurt others. So just going in with that mindset, and being willing to be personally accountable. I own what I evoked in you, and be quick to apologize and to ask for forgiveness. And so what you do is then you listen, you learn, you go into the situation prayed up so that you gain the necessary wisdom to help move that relationship forward. What I know is that when people have a shared experience, when they go through something like this, they work through it, get to the other side, then the relationship usually deepens, and there is a greater or deeper sense of intimacy between the two parties.
Now, you were already being a beneficial presence by doing this kind of work. What called you into ministry?
I believe that to really actualize my potential, I've got to engage and be in places and spaces where I can affect change. And so not only in the world of work that is for profit, there are also the same needs in spiritual communities which are not for profit. And so I was uniquely positioned to bring my experience, my knowledge, my skills, and my abilities to the spiritual realm in which I also show up and work and endeavor to make a difference. So it was really just a confluence of opportunities that I recognized at some point. And because I believe that we are all spiritual beings having human experiences, it was just an extension of that. So it wasn't like an either or, it's more of a both and, taking more of a holistic approach.
Yeah, I was seeing in your bio that you were mentioning being bivocational, and I'm like, well, what am I, quadrivocational or quintivocational or something? Anyway, I'm glad you're doing what you have to do. You're being drawn to do it. You're being pulled to do it. You're so much about service. In fact, you were one of the key architects of the World Service Day, I believe.
Yes.
Why is service so essential to you?
Well, I think that it serves us, in all honesty. So what I know is how I feel when I'm in service to others, or when I'm in service to a cause that I believe in and a cause that I support. I'm blessed as a consequence of being in that service. We all have unique God-given gifts and talents, and I would not be living life full out. I would not be in integrity with my divine self if I didn't serve. Yeah.
So tell me, can you think of a mystical moment that changed your life? That's what we talk about on Mystic Magic.
Well, the mystical moment was I was working for an insurance company in the Bay Area, and I had applied to go through underwriter training, and I wasn't selected. And I'm a curious person. I'm just not going to accept that. So I had questions, and I said, why was I not selected? And so the selection chair was very honest with me. At that time, I was still in undergraduate school, so I worked and went to school. And she said, when you finish your degree, you're probably going to leave us, so we're not going to get a return on our investment. And I said, you can read minds? You have a crystal ball and you can read the future? I said, you have no idea what I'm going to be doing, because you know what? I don't even know what I'm going to be doing once I finish. And I said, so this is unacceptable to me. I feel slighted, I'm qualified, I'm capable, I'm desirous, and you could use a little diversity. So there was a woman, her name is Darlene Cole, she's one of our ancestors now, and she learned about me advocating for myself. And she called me on the phone, and she said, could you come and see me? And I said, of course. And so I went to see her. I had never met this woman, and she had this incredible Southern accent, and she said, I wanted to meet you because you got balls, girl. And so she said, not too many people stand up to the leadership, especially women and women of color. And she said, you've got chutzpah and you're smart. I've done my homework. She said, I want you to come work for me. That was a magical moment. So I went to work for her. I was under her tutelage, her mentorship for about 7 months. And then an opportunity came up within the organization. They were creating a new department, and the department was a training and development department to develop leaders within the organization. And they were creating it from scratch, and they wanted diversity. And they wanted someone with my kind of training and background. And so I told her, oh no, I'm an introverted personality. I'm writing technical manuals. I love writing user manuals because I don't have to interface with other people. And she said, well, you are a grade 7. They will start you out at a grade 11. I said, sign me up. And so I love the work. I love the training that I received, the coaching and the mentoring, and then it became my life's work. Yeah.
So what are you most looking forward to at Celebrating Our Soul?
Just being in the company of my beloved brothers and sisters who can accurately empathize with my journey, with my experience, and I can be available to support any of them that may need some encouragement, may need some support, may need some resources that I have available. It's, again, just another way of being in service, and so by serving others, I know I'm going to be served as well.
And so are you doing anything with your ministry right now that you want to share, or do you want to share your website, or did you want to share something that you want to promote, a book, anything that you think we might benefit from?
A couple of things. Let's see. So my website for the equity, diversity, inclusion, and belonging work, this work continues to evolve. That's managementdynamicsinc.com. So if people have needs and services, or they just have a need for some strategy, how to get started, they can reach out to me. Another thing is I have republished my first book, Inspiration in Small Doses, and so I'll have the revised copies at the conference. They'll be in the bookstore at the Unity Village, so I want people to know about that. And so those are short stories, and the short stories are my lived experiences, and there are also essays that were actually sermons that I converted into essay format so that people can, just have those little golden nuggets of inspiration when they need it. So the short stories, because our attention spans are short. the essays are short because our attention spans are short. And so one of my colleagues said, I just pull your book down from time to time, open up to a story and just laugh. I'm inspired and motivated to continue the struggle. So Inspiration in Small Doses will be available, the revised version. And then also, I just sent on Monday a manuscript to my editor, and the book is called Widows Speak. And it's stories of healing, wisdom, and courage. And when I started this book, because I've been widowed for a very long time, and I never really speak about that much. And with COVID, I just know so many more women who have become widows, with these mass shootings. I said, again, here's an opportunity to be in service. I've learned a lot. I've gone through the process of grieving. I understand the widowhood effect. I have something to say. I have something to share. So it started out being for all widows, and all widows can benefit from it, but I view the world through a diversity and an equity lens. And so then it became more focused on the unique, and they really are unique, experiences of Black women as widows. And so it's a braided essay. So it's my personal story, but it's the story of 15 other women whom I've interviewed. But then it's the backdrop is the bigger story of racism and sexism in America and how that impacts us as widows. So Widows Speak will be published by year end, and it's a great gift, you all, for anyone who's navigating that journey of being widowed and having to live life after that significant loss.
Wow, and I know that you are a diversity and inclusion strategist. I wanted to ask that, what makes you a strategist when it comes to diversity and inclusion?
I am a strategist because I can take an organization's vision and identify strategic and actionable steps that they can take to bring that vision to reality. So what happens oftentimes is you have lots of leaders who are visionary. They have the vision, but there's a disconnect between that big lofty vision and what are the practical ways to enact the vision. And so by working with different industries, agencies, for-profit, not-for-profit, I have learned what works. And I can help people to brainstorm, to socialize, to strategize around making those visions a reality.
Cool. Now, I like to play with words. I like to play with letters. I like to play with acronyms. And for me, I noticed you mentioned belonging, but for me, I thought, you know what? I think it should be IED, because when you have inclusion and equity, it will be a diverse group of people, right? What is this belonging? What is that about?
Well,
Because
actually,
beyond equity, I take it.
yes. Well, actually, it's a consequence of the pandemic. There have been a number of studies. You can reference the Global Talent Survey conducted in 2021 by Gallup. That's one thing. Also, the McKinsey did a study on the workforce and how the needs have shifted and changed as a consequence of the pandemic. And so repeatedly, belonging started to emerge as a need. I need to feel as though I have a place here. And so it goes beyond just the diversity. Diversity oftentimes is just about representation, all right? The inclusion is being invited to dance, right? So you're a major player, participant in what goes on. But I can be exploited in so doing. But if I am valued, appreciated, and I really feel that I belong here, that I matter, my opinions, my ideas, my contributions, then it up levels my level of engagement and consequently my productivity and my performance. And so the work continues to evolve. Yeah.
Wow.
So on some days for me it's Jedi, JEDIB, because the justice piece has to come in. It depends on what is going on in the space where I am working. What are the issues? What are the needs? And so I can flex depending on what those needs are and meet the organization where it is.
It still comes back down to human relations.
Absolutely, it does.
Yeah.
It's all about relationships. Yeah.
Well, you are certainly more brilliant than they gave you credit for when they tried to underestimate you. You are a valuable and important member of the New Thought community, and you are supportive, and you are clear, and you are on purpose. And I appreciate you coming on Mystic Magic.
Well, thank you. I'm so honored to be here, and I'm so excited about the conference. I can hardly contain myself.
Yeah. So for more information about the conference, it's www.padntg.org. That takes place August 11th through 14th at Unity Village in Lee Summit, Missouri. This is Mystic Magic, exploring our spirit to understand our lives.